everyone, I'm Cory from Wet Shaving Products, and today I'm here with Garrett Smallwood, the shaving disciple, and we're here to talk about shaving. Garrett, if you don't mind just introducing yourself.
Yeah, I'm Garrett, also known as GW Smallwood, across all the forums and Instagram and everything. I have a YouTube channel called The Shaving Disciple, where I try to teach people about wet shaving, kind of grow the hobby and do product reviews and that sort of thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
And today, our beer of choice is, go ahead and introduce it for us.
So today we have some Guinness Zero. So I do not drink full alcoholic beverages anymore. I quit drinking about 9 years ago, but I still like beer. And over the last few years, luckily, they have really stepped up their game when it comes to non-alcoholic beers. And I actually just stumbled across Guinness Zero recently.
Is Guinness Zero, will this be considered a dark beer?
Guinness Zero is a stout. It actually is really close to actual Guinness. I was surprised at how close they were able to make it, given the fact that it's non-alcoholic.
Awesome. In regards to beer, I tend to drink the lighter beers or IPAs, hazy, any craft beers. I'm still trying to learn to like the darker beers, so I'm excited and curious to try this out.
All right.
Want to pop a few open?
Let's do that. There you go.
Awesome.
And here is a glass. So Guinness is one of those beers that it's not carbonated, it's nitrogen. And so there's a little ball in here that when you pop the top, it bursts the nitrogen ball. So the way you pour these is you pop the top and then you dump the can upside down into the glass.
Straight up, upside down.
And that's what diffuses all the nitrogen into the beer.
Awesome. I will watch you do it and then I will repeat.
Okay, we ready?
Ready. Straight upside down.
Straight upside down.
Yeah, you can definitely see that stout behavior in there. That's
So
awesome.
you can see all the nitrogen making its way through the beer, and it'll settle here in just a minute.
That looks great. All right, my turn. Gotta use both hands to open this. Did the full can get in there?
Not quite.
I see. I went a little higher than you.
So I don't have any anymore, but they actually make Guinness glasses that have a wider top on them.
Oh, okay.
And the wider top is there to hold the extra head that this creates as you pour it.
I see. Should have poured just a little bit less. But more to enjoy. Right on. So what flavors can we look for in this?
So this is a coffee stout technically. So there'll be hints of kind of chocolatey flavor as well as kind of a coffee note to it. It's really close to true Guinness. It is missing a little something because of the lack of the alcohol, but it's barely discernible. If you weren't a huge Guinness fan, you wouldn't really know the difference.
I'm sure I don't drink much Guinness, so I'm sure I wouldn't be able to tell myself.
Cheers.
Cheers. I will get a beard mustache. I apologize at a time. All right. Smooth.
So it's nice and thick, and that's a problem with most non-alcoholic stouts, is they tend to be really thin. They lack the body that a real stout has. Guinness has actually managed to create a non-alcoholic stout that actually has proper body, and you can kind of feel it in your mouth. It doesn't just taste like a light beer.
Right on.
Yeah.
It tastes way better than I thought. I'm not a big stout guy, nor am I a big coffee guy. This actually tastes rather well. It surprised me.
Yeah, so when I was drinking, I had two beers that I loved. One was Guinness, one was Kilt Lifter. And so when they came out with this non-alcoholic, it just kind of made my day, because those are the two beers I miss.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to share this with you today.
Yeah.
Cheers one more time. So beer aside, and aside from my mustache, if it's there, shaving. Let's
Yes.
hear the history. How'd you get into wet shaving? Where did it all start?
So as you can see, I'm primarily a head shaver. I do shave the beard every once in a while, but I've pretty much had the beard for probably 5 years. I've been wet shaving since 2014, and for me it was, like most people, a combination of trying to find something cheaper than cartridges and trying to find something that didn't leave the razor burn that cartridges gave me. So I actually stumbled upon double edge razors and wet shaving on a head shavers group on the internet.
Right on. What was it? Just those two things that attracted you to it, or
At first,
is there curiosity involved in it too?
I mean, there's always a curiosity anytime you're looking at something with a single blade, because the multi-blade cartridges have been so popular for so long. So there was definitely that kind of nostalgic, shave like your grandpa type attraction to it.
Did your father or grandfather or uncles, did any of them do any wet shaving that you'd seen as a kid?
My dad was an electric guy, and I tried that a few times when I started shaving, and the electrics never agreed with me. So my grandpa, I do remember using, I believe it was a Gillette Tech. I wish he'd have kept it. I asked him when I first started getting into the hobby if he had it, you know, packed in a drawer somewhere, and he said he didn't. So, but I do remember my grandpa shaving with a double edge razor when I was little.
Right on. When you first started getting into the wet shaving world, were you at all a little intimidated by using a safety razor?
A little bit. I grew up kind of rough and tumble, and to some extent willing to take those sorts of risks with my body. I rode bulls for 10 years.
Oh, really?
So yes, there was a little bit intimidation, but it was also a what's the worst that can happen type
Sure.
of situation. So.
How long did it take to figure the whole thing out and get to the part where you're just smoothly doing it every time?
So it probably took me a good 6 months and trying about 3 different razors before I really got comfortable with it. I had, at the time, really thick hair on my scalp. I was receding up top, but still had really thick hair. And so when you have really thick hair like that, not every single razor will work well for you.
Was it the forums that got you interested and started in wet shaving? Is that what got you started in being part of the community on online forums, Instagram, YouTube? Or how did that really get set for you, being part of that community?
It definitely started with forums. I didn't do really the Facebook groups too much. I don't even know if they were really a big thing back in 2014. So it was, at first, primarily Badger and Blade and the Shave Den. There's probably 3 or 4 other big forums that I popped on and off every once in a while, but I think those were the big 2 when I first started that kind of drew me into the community. I started getting involved in the pass-arounds that they do sometimes to get to try different soaps and different razors. Started doing trades with people, and so started making friends in the community through the forums like that.
Right on. And through that, did that start your collection of soaps and razors and brushes?
Yes. So I was always somebody who never understood the accumulation of tons of shaving gear. For a very long time, I stayed under 10 razors, which even that sounds a lot to most people, I'm sure. It's really not.
More than me.
So I stayed under that 10 razors. I probably only had about 10 to 15 soaps, which compared to the rest of the community is probably a pretty moderate collection. And then I started my YouTube channel, and my wife kind of enabled me to experiment a little bit more, and you know, because it was for the channel.
For sure. I was actually going to go there next. So your wife actually promotes the collecting, the YouTube, the Instagram?
To some extent. Her only big hurdle is we got to have a place to store it. It can't be laying all over the house. But yeah, she encourages it because she knows how much I enjoy it and how much I enjoy doing the videos and sharing it with other people. And so she encourages that because she knows how much I enjoy it.
Awesome. And I saw your Father's Day video where you had your kids shaving with you.
Yeah.
How enthusiastic do they get about the shaving world because of you?
To some extent. So that one was last year, and the only reason they wanted to shave with me was because they knew they were going to be on camera. Years ago, when they were a little bit younger and I first started out, they were more excited to just stand at the sink and play with the brush and run the plastic razors across their face, with no blade, of course. But they've gotten a little bit older, so they're not as excited about just playing as they once were. My daughter actually just started shaving her legs, though.
Okay.
And so she's using a leaf, and we have some of the female scents from Sterling.
Right on.
That her and my wife use for leg shaving. So my daughter's doing it for real now.
Right on. Is your son ever thinking about when he gets older and the whole shaving process? Has he talked about it, or?
I don't think it's really. He's only 9, so I don't think it's really crossing his mind yet. He's got some sensitive skin, so a single blade razor is probably going to be his best bet for keeping his skin from getting torn up. So I'm sure when the time comes, that's probably the route he'll go.
Right on. And back to your collection, how big is your collection now?
Oh, so I've probably got between, mostly double-edged, but I have a handful of single-edge razors that I use as well. So if you count all of them, I'm probably around 25 razors. I can't get a good shave from a mild razor. It's just the way I shave and the way I use my razors. I can't do it. I don't shave against the grain. So there are a lot of razors out there that I don't even bother looking at.
Have you ever toyed with a straight edge?
Yes, so I do have a couple of straight razors. I had one that I used exclusively for doing my neck shaves and my cheek lines. For about 60 days I used it exclusively for that purpose, and I just could never get used to holding it. My hands and wrists just don't contort in a way that makes it easy for me to use, and I could never get comfortable with it. And then the other side of it for me is the maintenance. So a safety razor, you have disposable blades. You clean it every once in a while, you wipe it off when you're done using it, and you throw the blade away. With a straight razor, you've got to maintain it with the strop, you've got to set the edge periodically, you've got to get it honed every once in a while, or you've got to buy all the stuff to learn to do that yourself. And it was just more than I wanted to jump into.
Did you ever feel like, though, when you used a straight razor, like, oh, it's a manly thing, I got a straight up razor on my face, or you already feel manly enough with the safety razors?
Yeah, I don't. To me, that wasn't something that was a real macho thing. It was just another way of shaving. I had been around the forums long enough and talked to enough guys about it that they kind of reinforced that. It's no more or less dangerous or difficult than other forms of shaving. It's just different.
Gotcha. I think as a kid, did you ever watch Crocodile Dundee?
I did, yeah.
Do you remember the scene where he's like shaving but with his giant knife?
I do.
As a kid, I always I want to shave like that. For some reason, I always thought that's a manly thing. So.
Have you ever seen the guys taking the beard off with the axe?
No. Oh, yes, I have seen that. Yeah.
Now, those are crazy.
That's funny. So, in regards to shaving, and particularly shaving soaps, what do you look for in a good shaving soap?
So I've kind of moved past the point of preferring tallow. I still do to some extent, but I've found so many different vegetable-based soaps that are really good that, to me, that's not really a differentiator anymore. For me, it's more about post-shave feel, I think, than it is for most people. A lot of people use the post-shave products, so they're not real interested in what the post-shave feels like from the soap itself. I actually shower after my shave, which is a little bit different than some people.
Yeah.
So for me, I look for that post-shave feel once I've rinsed the soap off. And so that, to me, that's a big differentiator in performance of a shaving soap.
Right on. And in regards to fragrances, where do you lean on that? Any particular fragrances you enjoy more than others, or do you just have a plethora of fragrances and it's like a mood thing, or do you have a go-to?
No, I have a lot. I probably have somewhere on the order of 100, 150 soaps at the moment, accumulated most of them over the past year and a half with the YouTube channel. So I've got a lot of selection, but I would say probably at least 60 to 70% of that is colognes.
Okay.
So I really like the cologne type of fragrances. I also like some of the darker stuff, like the sandalwoods and like your mahogany scent. That's one of my favorites. So
Awesome. What are you wearing today?
Today I actually wasn't wearing anything because I did some disc golfing this morning, so I didn't bother to put anything on. But last night I shaved with Old Kentucky.
Right on. It's a good scent.
Yeah, nice bourbon scent.
Is there any particular fragrances your wife enjoys you wearing most?
Yes. So my wife is a huge fan of the Aventus scents. So I actually have been collecting over the past year or so every single Aventus clone in the shaving world that I can get my hands on. So I have probably 35 or 40 different Aventus clones I'm going to start going through.
Nice.
So that's her number one. A close second would be Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements Gondolier, which smells a lot like Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce, I believe is the name of that fragrance.
So with such a huge collection of fragrances, how do you choose the fragrance for the day? What's the process?
So for the most part, I'm an overanalyzer and I'm an engineer, so I'm a spreadsheet guy.
Okay.
So I have a spreadsheet of my collection, and I basically take them more or less in order. If there's something for some reason that I just feel like using on a given day, I'll switch that up. I mean, I'm not religious about going through them in order, but for the most part, it helps me from having to make the decision on a daily basis. It's just, okay, what's next on the list?
Okay, so there's no repetitiveness ever in your fragrance choicing?
Occasionally. Most of the time it happens when I've loaded too much. I'm usually a bowl latherer, so when I've loaded too much soap into my bowl, I'll maybe have enough for 2 or 3 shaves, so I'll use something a few times in a row.
Okay.
But otherwise, I pretty much alternate every time I shave.
Nice, nice. In regards to the fragrances your wife likes, do you particularly use those whenever you have a date night with her and get off your typical routine and stick to what she likes, or you stay in the routine that you're already in?
No, I'll try to use something that I know she likes if it's a special occasion, or her birthday, Mother's Day, those sorts of things. Yeah, I'll make it a point to use something that I know she's gonna like.
Nice.
Or like Father's Day, I actually used Shark Bite, which is one of the ones that is my kid's favorite.
I saw that, the video you had there. Awesome. So we're in a disc golf course, and you play yourself.
I do.
How long have you been playing?
Just a little less than a year.
Right on. And you've been playing here how long?
So this course here has been here probably 6 months-ish. And I have a friend that lives down the street who actually helped put some of the baskets in and stuff. So we've been playing here since they installed the baskets. Actually, before they installed the baskets, we played the temporary layout when they just had kind of markers on the ground.
Fun. And how'd you get started in the disc golf?
My best friend, he started playing during the pandemic, and I hadn't seen him in probably 6 or 8 months, and he invited me to come out and play, and it was a way for us to kind of reconnect and start hanging out again.
Is he involved in the wet shaving world?
Yes, although he is more of a utilitarian. So he has, I think, 1, maybe 2 soaps. Usually they're soaps that I give him. I think he's got 1 straight razor and like 2 safety razors. I think he's got a couple of brushes that I gave him. So he's very like, he does it as a chore, and he chooses to use good materials to do it, but it's still just something he has to do.
Gotcha. Where you thoroughly enjoy the whole process.
Yeah, I've kind of turned it into more of a ritual, yeah.
How long does it take from beginning to end to get a good shave now for you?
So for me, I shower after I shave. So between setup, the shave, shower, and cleanup, it's probably on the order of 45 minutes.
Right on. How long did it take you when you first started?
I'll bet my first few shaves took me an hour plus. I was very tentative. I didn't know what I was doing. It took me forever to try and build the lather. I also had very, very thick hair then, which I don't really have now. So yeah, my first probably 3 to 6 months, it took a lot longer.
Right on. And obviously, I, like you, shave my head, and shaving the head's a bit different than shaving the face. How do you approach shaving your head?
So it depends on the razor. I never shave against the grain. I just get too much irritation and kind of razor bumps when I do that, so I just avoid it. So depending on the razor, it'll either be a single pass with the grain or a single pass across the grain. So my head, I don't have a whole lot of hair up top, so it's just straightforward on the top.
Easy there.
And then the sides, I just kind of come across this way, and then same on the other side.
Does the back ever give you problems, or
no?
Pretty easy to get that?
It's one of the things I always recommend to people who start shaving their head. You're always tempted to use a mirror, but the mirrors create weird angles in opposite directions, and it actually, for me, led to more cuts and stuff. So once I started learning how to do it blind and just doing it by feel, everything went much, much smoother.
Funny enough, the exact thing you just said was true of me. I think I had like 2 different mirrors, and just the way my eyes perceive things had the same problem there. And then I just figured out, oh, if I just feel it, I can do it right there. So definitely a lot easier on that. Does your wife enjoy the bald look?
Yeah, she does now. My kids, as well as my wife, both look at pictures of me with hair and think I look weird. So I started shaving my head at 30, and I made the decision at like 20 because I knew from family history that my hair wasn't going to last very long. So I just made a decision at 30 years old, I'm going to start shaving my head. And at that time it was starting to recede pretty good, so it was definitely time. And I started, because my wife was hesitant for me to go scalp bald, I started with like a 1 on a clippers, and then took that down to a 0, and then I kind of gradually went shorter and shorter over the course of about a month until I finally shaved it with a razor. And she didn't like it as much when I was only doing it with the clippers, and she really liked it way more when I shaved it with the razor. But it took me doing it gradually for her to be okay with me taking it all the way down.
Get her acclimated.
So it took a while.
Right on. And when did you decide to grow the beard versus constantly shaving the face?
So I used to have kind of the circle beard, you know, the most people call it a goatee, but it was really a circle beard. I had that from probably mid-college through 2015, 2016. And then I decided to try to do the yeared. And just because I'd never let it go very far. And so I actually grew it out. It was probably about that long. I made it about 9 months until my beard started growing straight that direction. And after that, I took it down to about where it is now, and my wife really liked it. And I've shaved a couple times since, just for the fun of it, and my wife and kids both hate it when I shave, so the beard stays now.
Yeah, my wife hates it when I shave too, although it's obviously been a long time. Outside of shaving the head, clean shaving around the beard, you obviously take care of your beard. Any products used for that too, or do you obviously put more time in the shaving? I'm sure the beard takes less time, but you're still attentive to that. What's that process like?
So I wash my beard with a beard wash of some sort every night. I know a lot of people say that it's bad for your beard hair. I feel like mine gets oily and greasy too quick if I don't do it every night. So I wash every night, and I usually put conditioner on it in the morning, and I follow up both with beard oil. I've tried beard balms. For me, they just don't really accomplish much more than the beard oil does, and they can tend to clog up my skin around my mustache area and give me breakouts. So I tend to just stick to beard oil.
Right on. And your beard oils tend to stay consistent with whatever fragrance you're using in your shave?
I have a few that match fragrance sets, but it's when you have as many different fragrances in your collection as I do, it's really hard to keep that many beard oils because they don't last forever.
Right.
Oils will start to turn if you don't use them soon enough. So I've taken to only a select few fragrances while I have beard oils. For the rest of them, I just use an unscented oil.
Right on. And lastly, any advice you would want to give to anybody starting in the shaving world? What can they look to? How can they start? What kind of advice would you give somebody just jumping into this?
Yeah, so Facebook groups and forums are a great place to learn. This is one of those hobbies where if you find the right forums, because there are some that aren't as good, but for the most part, most of the forums, everybody there wants to help you. We want more people shaving in this way and using these products, because the more people we can get doing it, the longer that these products stay around and these companies stay in business. So everybody on these forums and on these Facebook groups is going to want to help you. So jump on the groups, ask questions when you have them. As far as getting started, I actually recommend starter kits. It's the easiest way to go. You can find them at a lot of different places, but usually you can get a starter kit with a brush, a razor, usually a small sampling of blades, and a soap.
Awesome. One last question. In regards to wet shaving products, what's your favorite fragrance?
It's got to be Gaelic Tweed. I am a huge Green Irish Tweed fan. I actually have done a whole series on Green Irish Tweed clones in the shaving world on my YouTube channel. So Gaelic Tweed is my top WSB.
And where does Gaelic Tweed lean in regards to the Green Irish Tweed?
So to me, I think it is one of the ones that tracks a little bit more closely. In the wet shaving world, a lot of the Green Irish Tweed fragrances are missing the peppermint note. And that note doesn't always come from peppermint oils, but there are only a few wet shaving products that have mimicked that peppermint note. WSP is one, Sterling is another, I think Wickham's is the other one I know of off the top of my head. So it's one of those ones that I think is closer to the actual Green Irish Tweed cologne.
Awesome. And one last time, if anyone wants to follow you, where can they follow you? How can they reach you and see your advice and what you have to share?
So YouTube is the #1 spot, The Shaving Disciple on YouTube. I also have an Instagram account and a Facebook page with The Shaving Disciple. My Instagram account is where I'm most active these days, but I will be getting back into making videos more regularly here pretty soon.
We look forward to it. Well, Garrett, thank you. I appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for
And
inviting me
thank you
out.
for the delicious beer. Way better than I thought it would be.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed the interview and got more to come.